Hello everybody, welcome to this month's project. This month's project is a nautical themed Lazy Susan for your vegetables or condiments or whatever. I'm going to start out by making our job size 18 by 18. It's a 3/4 inch thick board. We're going to be on the material surface, and we are going to use our XY datum is going to be in the center of the project. And we'll say OK, and it brings us to our blank screen. The first thing that we're going to want to do is you got to have an idea of what you want to build. So I've already loaded this in, but I found a bitmap that was of a compass. And what we're going to do is make this a compass-shaped Lazy Susan. So, in order to do that, obviously, it's going to have to be in a circle. I've determined that I wanted to make mine about 17 inches. So we're going to start by making a circle that's 17 inches in diameter. Okay? And we'll apply that, and now we have our basic circle. Now, as you notice in our kind of example here of compass points, we have basically a star, and then we have a circle that has degrees all the way around it. You can do individual degrees like this particular thing is, or like I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the 10, 20, 30, 40, and maybe a couple in between from there. So the next thing we need to do is we got to determine where we're going to put our letters, our points, and stuff like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle that's about 1.5 inches smaller in diameter than my original circle. So 1.5 inches in diameter difference. Or no, 3 inches in diameter. I want 1.5 inches radius. So you can do this one of two ways. You can do it by diameter or radius. I'm going to take 3 inches off of 18, that's 15 inches, and apply that. And that's basically where my lettering and my numbers are going to go around this circle here. So the next thing I need to do is I'm going to make the large enumerations that are 10, 20, 30, 40. And then I'm going to put a half number in there, and then I'll put a quarter in there too. So it would be like 10, and then this would be 15, 20, and then I'll probably put another one in between there. So in order to do that, I've got to do a couple things. The first thing I'm going to do is make the hash marks. And I'm going to make my hash marks up here. I'm going to make them come in, and I'm going to make them about 3/4 inch. So I'm going to put 0.75, enter, and that should make it 3/4 inch, and I'm done. So that is going to be the big marks. Well, I also want small marks and then the half marks. Well, if I make these all big, that's not going to work very well. So what I'm going to initially do is take this large mark, and I am going to copy that to the layer number 4, because I'm on layer number 5 right now. I copied that to layer 4. I'm going to turn 5 off for the time being. And I'm going to shrink this down half as much. So I'm going to bring it to where it's about half as long. Now I'm going to turn on my layer again, and I'm going to, well, no, I'm going to go back. I'm sorry. I'm going to turn my layer back off. What we're going to do now is we're going to wrap this all the way around our circle. So we're going to go to the circular copy. I'm going to make this, since I'm going to do it in 10 degrees, that means I'm going to need 36, plus I'm going to divide each 36 by 4. So I'm going to have to do this 36 times 4 equals 144, and then I'm going to copy them. One thing you got to remember is make both of these 0. If you don't, this is what you'll end up with. All of them in a little circle. We don't want that. So make sure you put both of these rotational centers at 0. What that'll do is force this to go around your work center. Say copy. Now I have 144 of these all the way around, which is fine. I'm good with that. What I need to do now, this will be the short ones. What I'm going to do at this point in time is I'm going to turn off all of the orange ones, which is layer 5. And now all I have is these. I'm going to go in now and lengthen this one out, because this is going to be my whole number. Lengthen it out twice as much. This will be a quarter. This will be my half, and I'll extend him out a little bit more. So what I have is this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. I am going to move these guys to layer 5. The rest of these I don't care about, so I'm just going to turn off that layer, turn back on layer 5, and you notice this is what I got right here. I've got the full, I've got the half, and then I got the quarters. This here I want to go around 36 times, because I'm going to have 36 times 10 is 360. Oops. I bet you don't know what I forgot to do. Forgot to put these at 0. Put them both at 0, copy it out around, voila, I've got all my marks in place. Now, I should have probably done one other thing before I did this, so we're going to go backwards. And one other thing I'm going to do to this is I'm going to put a number here. And the reason I'm going to do this now is that it'll transfer all the numbers around when I do the array. So I'll get my text box. There's my text box. I'm going to put in it 3 zeros. You can do anything, but I'm going to put 3 zeros, and then I'm going to center this on this long line. I'm going to leave it like that. Now when I do all of these, highlight all of these, and now when I do my circular rotation, my array, it also puts all the numbers down. Now they're all 0, 0, 0, 0, which is fine. I don't care. I can go back and change them into anything I want. So I can come in here and look at this. It says 0, 0, 0. I want only 1 0 in there. Okay, that's fine. I want 10 in here. I want 20 in here. I want 30 in here. I want 40 in here, and so on, going all the way around. That way I'll get all my numbers, and right here will be 340. Here will be 90. Here will be 180. And here will be 270. And you'll go around and change all the numbers. I'm not going to do that. Not right now. So, I'm done with all my numbers. What's the next thing I need to do? I need to put the compass points in. Well, I chose to make the compass points in the center of my drawing, and I'll show you what I mean. Here's my compass points. The way I made them was relatively easy, and I'll show you how I did it. So let's turn him back off. Okay, now we're ready to make our compass points. And This can be somewhat daunting, or at least look like it's somewhat daunting, but it's really not too bad. The first thing we need to do is figure out what diameter we want the points to come out to. So I've predetermined that as being 10 and a 10-inch diameter, and I'm going to put a circle in here to indicate that. So there's my circle. Now the next thing, you can do this a couple different ways, and the way I found it's probably the easiest, you could take your drawing and bring it out to a size to where you could bring it in here and bring it out and trace it basically. But I found that that's kind of hard to do. So what I'm going to do is use the draw star function, and you'll notice in here it says the outer radius of the star, the center point. This is one you got to really watch. I want the center point to be 0, 0, and I know from past experience I want the inner part of the radius about 20% of whatever diameter or radius I make it. Since I wanted a 10-inch diameter, I want a 5-inch radius. So I'll put 5 in here and say create. There is my large star. Now I need the smaller star, that's this one right here. So we'll make another star, and on this one you notice that it changed it. Let's go to 0, 0, and instead of 5 I'm going to make this one 4 and create it, and you'll notice it's smaller, which I want it to be, and I'd like it to be a little bit smaller than that. So we're going to come in here, undo it, and I'm going to make it 3.5. Okay, that's better. So we're going to close this, highlight our star, and now we're going to rotate the star 45 degrees to offset it from the first one. So now we have an offset of the first one from the first one. Now you'll notice that we're only gonna, the first thing I really want to do is I want to take my 2 stars, copy them to a different layer, and there is a real good reason for this. Eventually I'm going to have to draw all these lines in to complete my stars, and if I don't move these to another layer, I'll probably end up erasing all of the stuff that I want. So V-carve the black out. So I need to make those sections in here. And kind of one of the ways that I do it is that I start eliminating stuff. And the real part of it you would want to kind of do is come in here and snip it. But I found a better way of doing it than that seems to work better, because we got all these things crossing over. Highlight these, and you'll notice that I don't need this line at all for anything. So what I'm going to do is come in here and delete that span, and then I'm going to come in, I don't need this one, and I'm going to delete this span here, and I don't need this one, so I'll delete this span here. And you got to get it in the right place to do the deleting. Delete that one, and then the last one is right here, and I'll delete that span. Now that left me with all these single lines, which is kind of okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm going to attach, you'll notice in here, what we want to be black is from here to here to here. That's what we want to be black. So what I can go in here now and do, and what I'm going to do at this point in time, I'm going to take these lines here, this one, this one, this one, and this one, and move them to a different layer. And we'll move them to layer 2. Okay? And you notice they change colors. So I also want to make layer 2 my active layer. So now I'm going to go in and take my line tool, go from this point to this point here to this point. Make a line. We're going to do the same over here. We're going to go from this point to this point to this point and create a line. And the same thing over here. We're going to go from this point to this point. Oops, I screwed up, I think. Yeah, I did. Let's go back. We're going to go okay, now we're going to go from this point to this point to this point. Okay? And then finally we're going to go from this point to this point to this point. That should be all of our small stars. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to close this. We're going to come up here and turn off this part, this star layer, and this star layer. And now all we're left with is the small points. And what I'm going to call this layer, I'm going to rename it and call it small. Now I can come in and get rid of these extra parts with the clip tool. And this does two things actually. This is going to clip off those long pieces, and it's going to make them closed objects. So I just go through and make sure that they're all closed before I continue on, which they all are. So essentially right now I'm done with the small points. Now I can get rid of this layer, turn this layer back on, and turn my black layer back on. Okay? Now you will notice that right now all I have left is the big points. And again, what I'm going to do is come in with my tool here, the Node Edit tool, and I'm going to get rid of this span, this span, this span, and this span. Come on. Which leaves me with single lines. At this point in time, if you look at how things are, we go from this to the center to this point here. So at this point in time, I don't need the yellow anymore. So I can get rid of that, or I can hide that layer. Okay, now we're going to take our lines and we're going to move them to a different layer. And I want to move them to layer 3. And then I'm going to come up here, make layer 3 active, and I'm going to change its name to large. And I'm going to do just like what we did with the small ones. Get our line tool. We're going to go from here to the center to the end. We're going to do that to all of them. Now we have them all done. The only thing I have to do now is make sure that they're all closed. So I will go in here. Nope. So we're going to have to close these. And you can actually do all of them at the same time. You notice it says open 8, turn into close 4. That's what we want to do. Now they all should be closed, which they are, which is great. That's what we want. So now we sit there and close those. We are now ready to make our other ones visible, our other points visible. And what I'm going to do, and I do this, I put a lot of this stuff in layers, and the reason for it is so I can turn things off when I go to make my toolpath. So I'm going to make a pocket toolpath. So I'm going to highlight all of these and then hit calculate. And you notice it did all my pockets and it did my clearing. So if I preview that, this is what I get. The next thing I want to do is the profile for the outside edges. Remember, we saved that. So now we can bring it back and we can go ahead and turn off, and we can sit here and highlight these and say I want to go down 60 thousandths. It's going to be a V-bit. I'm going to do right on the line and I'm going to hit calculate, and then I'm going to preview it. Okay, we got that part done. So the last thing we have to do as far as V-carving is we can turn off this layer and turn on our rings and numbers. You notice we haven't put none of the north, south, east, or west letters in yet. We can do that now. And what we can do is turn on the layer that had the inside ring, and we can set there and do a text box, and we can put north in to start with. Okay, now I can set there, put north in. I'm going to make this about 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to close that, and then we're going to bring it up over on top of the line, right about here. Okay, then we're going to go into circular copy. We want to make sure both X and Y are on 0. We want to put 4 items in, and we're going to put it in 360 degrees, and you will notice that it puts them out there real nice there. So I also can do this and say I would like to put 8 of them in. There's a method to my madness here, believe it or not. So we could go back, undo the array, make this 8, and copy 8 of them in. Now, the method to my madness here is I now also have a station for my smaller ones, north, south, northeast, west, all that. So I can come in here now and say, hey, I want to change that letter, and I want to make this northeast, and I want to change the size to 1/4 inch. Okay, great. Here I can come in here and click on this one, and we can change him to south, or I'm sorry, east. We can come in here, click on him, change him to southeast. SE, and remember we got to make him 1/4 inch. Down here, we can turn that one into south. Down here, we can turn him into southwest. And we need to change his size. Change this guy to west, and change this guy to northwest, and change the size. And we have them all done. Now we have all our letters in, and if I come up here and put small and large in, and put my outline in, we should rename this layer outline. So I'm going to turn these back off because I want to now profile cut all of these parts. So we'll highlight them all and calculate, And let's preview all our toolpaths. Voila. So I have them all done. I only have one other thing to do, and that is to cut it out. And the way we're going to do that is come back here. I'm going to now we're going to make another profile cut. And we're just going to highlight this outside one, and we're going to go down 3/4 of an inch. We're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. We are going to go on the outside. We are going to add tabs. And we're going to ramp it. And we can call this outside profile. Calculate it. Now when we set there and preview our toolpaths, voila. So we have all our toolpaths. Now we can rename these anything you want. Since several of these are the same, when we go to our tap files, and again, your tap files, what you're going to do is make your tap files according to whatever your post processor is. Come in, and the first one we're going to do is save that toolpath. And we'll save it there. Save this toolpath. Save it. Now all our toolpaths are saved. We're now ready to go out and do our machining. So with that, we conclude this portion of the video of designing. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you visit all of our sponsors. Make sure you click and subscribe and hit the bell. I'll see you in the next episode.